Pre-season testing is one of the most crucial times of the year in Formula 1. For fans starved of racing action during the off-season, it's the first glimpse of the cars that will contest the season. For teams, it's even more crucial as they check the cars are working and assess performance. It's not as flashy as a Grand Prix, but every now and then something at testing gets the whole world talking. The 2022 regulation change was a seismic overhaul of F1's rules, and a new shape of Formula 1 car was to be expected. Mercedes were the masters of Formula 1 from 2014 to 2021, so expectations were naturally high for the Silver Arrows. They turned up to the first test in Barcelona with some noticeably skinny side pods. Already an eye-catching concept, rumours started swirling that for the second test in Bahrain, the side pods would be virtually non-existent and worth up to a second of lap time. The rumours would prove to be half true. While the W13 rocked up in its zero-pod configuration, the gains were not as expected, and Mercedes, having dominated the previous eras, scored just one win all season. Innovation runs deep at Mercedes. 2 years prior, it was something inside the cockpit that caught everyone's attention: dual-axis steering, or DAS. The clever device could be seen from the onboard camera. Coming onto the main straight in Barcelona, Lewis Hamilton could be seen pulling the steering wheel towards him. This affected what's known as the toe-out angle of the front wheels. When tyres point slightly away from the centre of the car, it can produce more grip in corners. But that effect isn't needed for the straights. So by pulling the wheel back on the straights, the Mercedes W11 was able to straighten the wheels, improving straight line acceleration. The performance was astonishing. The W11 became widely regarded as the fastest F1 car ever made, and it propelled Hamilton and Mercedes to both championships in the COVID-hit season. At the very same Barcelona test in 2020, Racing Point arrived with a design considered by some to be rather familiar. The team, formerly known as Force India and now in their second season as Racing Point, already had a close technical relationship with Mercedes, utilising their power units, gearboxes and hydraulics in previous years. But the similarities in 2020 were enough that they were dubbed the Pink Mercedes or Racing Point by some observers. The car was also rapid. Having finished P7 in the standings with 73 points in 2019, the 2020 season, which was 5 races shorter, saw Racing Point finish 4th with 195 points, 4 podiums, 1 pole and a victory. Quite a turnaround, and 4th would have been 3rd in the final standings if not for protests during the season. Renault lodged protests about the car's legality, and it was found to have rear brake ducts that shared design elements with Mercedes. This earned the team a 15-point deduction and a fine, allowing McLaren to finish 3rd. Before the turbo hybrid era, it was Red Bull that led the way in lap times and innovation. The blown diffuser concept was one started by Red Bull in 2010 and would define their championship-winning car designs for the next 4 years. It was a simple enough concept. Redirect energized exhaust gases over the rear diffuser to produce massive rear downforce. Engine mapping to create even more heat and downforce later on further expanded on this concept. It worked a treat, and the RB6 of 2010 was the car to beat. But this innovation was too good to share, and so to disguise their work, Red Bull applied a small silver decal towards the rear of the car on the final day of testing in Jerez. This dummy exhaust was meant to trick the world into thinking this was the outlet, but in reality, the exhaust was cut lower down towards the floor. The untrained eye looking at the car in motion might not notice this, but once the secret was out, everyone scrambled to devise their own system. Continuing their trend of hiding their work from onlookers, Red Bull arrived at Jerez 5 years later with a car adorned in a dazzle-style camouflage, making it difficult to tell what was going on under the paint. The camo ball was a feast for the eyes, but the dazzling design was perhaps too effective, with new driver Daniel Kvyat knocking the front wing off on the first day. With no replacement available to be flown out the following day, Kvyat carried on wingless for the rest of the afternoon, completing low-speed runs. Despite the secrecy, the car's performance window wasn't what the team hoped, clocking just 3 podiums all year. Sometimes a top team doesn't quite live up to expectations, but other times it goes the other way. A smaller team shocking everyone with blinding pace. This was the case for the newly minted Brawn GP team in 2009, who had risen from the ashes of Honda just weeks earlier. Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello win a clear second off everyone at the car's first test in 2009, in one of the biggest shocks in F1 history. The brand new regulations for 2009 had been anticipated by Honda, and they poured all of their resources into development, stopping development on their 2008 car early. With a Mercedes engine in the middle, a clever double diffuser at the back, and months of groundwork from Honda, the result was what Button would later dub a monster of a car in his title-winning season.
You have built me a monster of a car.
For every underdog success story, there's a false dawn. This was the case in 2001, when the cash-strapped Prost Grand Prix ran deliberately underweight in order to grab headlines, and hopefully attract some sponsors. It worked beautifully. Over 12 days of testing in Barcelona, Jean Alesi clocked the fastest time of anyone in his Prost AP04. His 1 minute 18.973 was almost an entire second quicker than anyone else. When the season began, however, it was clear that Prost was not a table topper. Alesi did finish in the top 10 on a regular basis, and with points only awarded to the top 6 in those days, he did well to score on 3 occasions. But it wasn't enough to save the alien team. By the season's end, Prost had run out of money and the Prost dynasty in F1 ended. Some F1 legends get revived, and that was the case for McLaren Honda. The partnership racked up 4 consecutive team and drivers' titles between 1988 and 1991, and so when Honda entered the turbo hybrid era in 2015, hopes were high. Things did not exactly work out that way, with the MP430 plagued with reliability issues at the first winter test in Jerez. After diagnosing issues, hopes were much higher for the second and third weeks of testing in Barcelona. That all changed on the final day of Test 2, when Fernando Alonso hit the inside wall at turn 3. The impact was enough to rule him out of the final test and the first race of the season, where he was replaced by Kevin Magnussen. 3 years later, Alonso was still behind the wheel for McLaren, but in vastly different circumstances. And on day 3 of the second test in 2018, he was just about the only driver to set a lap. The reason? An overnight sprinkling of snow made the track just about impossible to drive. With icy temperatures and a slushy surface, no meaningful running could take place, with only Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo and Marcus Ericsson daring to brave the track. Despite the quiet day of running, the marshals kept in high spirits and took the time to enjoy a snow day, with this Mercedes snowman also watching over proceedings. A blanket of snow is rarely an issue in Bahrain. Perhaps that's why the Bahrain International Circuit has become a favoured location for pre-season testing in recent years. That said, a circuit in the desert has its own problems to deal with, namely sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere, and can play havoc with Formula 1 cars. Low grip, low visibility, and with just 3 days of pre-season testing in 2021, the teams were low on time to get set for the year ahead. Thankfully, the sandstorm didn't disrupt running enough to cause delays, and plenty of running was completed by all teams, laying the foundations for a memorable season ahead. Will we see any surprises next time we go testing in Bahrain? Thankfully, we don't have to wait long to find out.